All right, welcome back to Off the Crypto Cuff. We're your hosts. I'm Jesse. This is Jeff. It's two friends having a drink. Cheers.
Cheers.
While we discuss politics and crypto and whatever else may come about. Once we're done with our drink is kind of when we end our discussion. Sometimes we may pour a little more if the discussion is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, we'll see how this thing's shakes out today.
So tonight I'm drinking Old House Lifeline. This is a distillery out of Pennsylvania that I went to pretty good a while back. It's pretty good. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I like it.
I forgot the bottle, but I'm doing Bardstown again, old fashioned.
Nice. Yeah. I'm just doing straight with a cube ice. The nearly clear ice.
Oh. Close enough.
Yeah, trying to get there. Trying to figure that out. So yeah, you had a couple things you wanted to kind of bring up. I think we were just discussing a few things.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So to kick things off, let's start with Ethereum. And again, it's not my intention to spread FUD or fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I'm just trying to talk facts, understand, what the actual facts are. And if somebody has anything to say about what I'm actually bringing up, then this is supposed to be a conversation, so we can actually have a broader, community about what's going on. So again, I don't know the guy's name, but there was a developer and a software engineer that was involved in developing, Litecoin. He's done development on Ethereum. He's done, some development on other chains, and always has this engineering mindset. And we've already discussed this, so we've already known this was happening. Is that the transaction rate on Ethereum is actually at an all-time low, because the layer twos have actually done a lot of the work, and people have moved to working on layer twos. So that means that there's very little happening actually on the primary chain. Well, one of the things that's actually changed is when Ethereum had all the transactions happening on it, it was straight up deflationary. One of the first deflationary coins, period.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the lack of transactions, it's now actually hit an inflationary trajectory. He doesn't think that's going to stop. And that could actually be a bad thing overall for Ethereum.
Yeah, that's
because of tokenomics.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. So essentially it could squash Ethereum in the long term. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I've never been a big Ethereum fan myself. Just didn't really make sense to me. I felt like they were always, it was almost like they were trying too hard. That's kind of how I felt. I don't know.
Well, I said technologically they were having a hard time. They were the first out of the gate doing smart contracts. They were very innovative on doing that.
Right.
The problem with this type of infrastructure is once it's in place, it's kind of set in stone. And trying to progress and get it upgraded and moved and take new ideas and get them integrated, it's hard work, especially without breaking compatibility, without actually, alienating anybody that's, developing applications, without actually, causing the entire network to crash, because there's a lot of things that go in there, engineering wise. It's a hard problem to progress. And there's a lot of younger chains out there that have taken a look at it, and it says there's newer mathematics that actually makes this easier. And they started implementing using those new technologies, those new techniques, and have done better and made things easier, especially on the user experience side.
Yeah.
And it boils down to user experience.
100%. Well, that's what we've talked about. We always say that. It's user experience, utility, right?
Yes. I mean, well, yeah, we focus on the utility coins, who's going to bring utility. Right. But after you have that utility bubble, then you can sub-filter that down as who's got the best user experience overall. And that's where people are going to eventually flock to, especially people that have less of a technical understanding. They're going to go to what's easy.
The easy button. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's It's funny because I've actually been hearing more and more about people looking at, the actual utility of crypto and the different things versus just like, oh yeah, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. Now you're starting to hear a lot more of other coins out there, crypto, blockchains, and in mainstream, like with just different YouTubers and different people on the news and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting to see that. It's kind of where I feel like we are starting to see somewhat of a transitionary period of what people think.
Well, I mean, and Elon Musk floated the idea of putting the U.S. Treasuries transactions. So basically, put the receipts etched on a blockchain.
Yeah.
So that way, it's literally public. It happens live, and it's immutable.
Yeah.
So, and it would basically bring ultimate transparency of where Americans' monies is going. I think it's a phenomenal idea. You cannot do that on Bitcoin. Ethereum, you can't do that on. I mean, there's so many chains I can list, but at a certain point, it's going to start sounding like fun.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just like it definitely needs to be a crypto that has high utility, high robustness, but it also has to be, the Bitcoiner's dream of being highly decentralized. There is very few chains that actually fit all of those bills. I mean, there's our chains that have high utility, but for something that's going to be public infrastructure. So this is actually kind of something that I did that was fun. X and Elon Musk, so as AI team, they released the beta for Grok 3. And they actually have this an intellect button. So you can press it and actually spend time actually deeply thinking about something to come up with a good, extremely logical answer about something. So basically I asked it, well, if we were going to go to this multi-chain future, would it be, what would the pros and cons be ultimately of using more than one chain for something like the U.S. Treasury? And it actually came up with that answer and actually said that it would actually be legitimate for something like the U.S. Treasury to use more than one
blockchain
crypto, more than one blockchain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it lists out the reasons why. It listed the cons to it, because there are cons, because you have the maintenance costs, because you're actually splitting it. But if anything happened to one of the two chains, you would end up with redundancy. Which is potentially something that you would want.
Right.
So it was actually kind of interesting to see, how it, laid it out and all of its, bullet points. I didn't ask it to select one. It just, gave what the framework was of what to look for when selecting.
Gotcha. Yeah. One of the things I heard recently, did you mention Elon, is they talked about, auditing the actual amount of gold in the reserves that we have as a country.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is kind of interesting because it's been very long since they have done that. So they say there's a certain amount, but is it truly that amount? Especially with everything going on, it seems like they're finding a lot of anomalies in areas. So
I've responded to Elon because the last time they did an audit, they had video cameras and stuff. Then they opened up vault doors and said, "Here's the gold. Here's the how much is there." And they opened up a few just to prove that there was something in there.
Yeah,
I believe that there is a lot of gold on U.S. soil.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what people fail to realize is gold is extraordinarily heavy, and it is not necessarily promised to individuals. It's promised to countries, which means that you're potentially moving tons.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this previously. France back in the 70s called our bluff with the amount of money we were printing, and they were exchanging the dollars for gold. I don't think that gold ever made it to a boat and got shipped to France. It's still sitting on our shores. There's just an IOU in the ledger that says this amount belongs to France. So the audit is not necessarily against the gold, but does it all exist?
Right.
But it should be against the ledger. How many IOU items are there? How much do we owe worldwide?
Right. But also we need to know how much we have compared to that.
Exactly. But that's what I'm trying to get to, is that just saying is like, yes, there's gold on our shores. I'm more than certain there's gold on our shores.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just a matter of it's our books are correct, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing
Like
is
everything
all the,
else.
that's the thing is all this stuff that they're doing right now. It seems like they're balancing their books. Like we've been, they're looking at things and they're finding anomalies that aren't. There's basically checks that have gone out there that are not, in their ledger of the books. It's like it's not.
Or things that don't make sense. I mean, the Social
Yeah.
Security going to 350-year-olds.
Yeah, that's a big one. I couldn't believe that. Well, that also I wonder about, that goes back to the election last time too. So people voting that weren't actually alive still. But
No, and yeah,
in
Charlie
Utah.
Kirk brought that up. He's like, "Oh
Yeah,
man, so you're telling me that checks were going out to 60 million people that it shouldn't have been?"
yeah, that's crazy to think about. That's a lot of money, over time.
Mm-hmm.
For you're talking years and years, because if you're talking people that are 150 years old, they've been gone for a little while. So it's that's what Elon said. He was like, unless if they're 150 years old, they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records right now because they're so it's pretty evident that things are just kind of been loosely handled. But it's interesting. I don't know. I think I think it's good. I don't see why, as I'm a business owner, and I don't see why as a business we need to make sure our books are balanced and everything's perfect. I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and we have a certain standard of bookkeeping we have to keep, but yet our government who's policing us doesn't have to do it. That doesn't make sense to me. It just seems that it seems unfair, honestly. It's
It's
like,
straight up
why do
hypocrisy.
yeah, it's like, why do we have to live by these certain standards and operate by these certain standards, but you're not doing it? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And it's, yeah, like you said, hypocrisy. It's at its best. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good. I think a lot more people think it's good than we're hearing. I think that the depending on what channel you watch in the news, they're saying it's bad, but it's interesting. Then I saw a little article earlier, just kind of passed across my feed. Basically, they're trying to allow one person in the Doge team or whatever, access to, I forget what it was. It was like Social Security, basically Social Security information, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and they came back and said, well, no, we're not allowing that. And then they turned to find out Biden allowed like 1,000 people to have this access.
Hmm.
So it's like, I guess, and so people were kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, it's like I don't know. So people were kind of being a little tight-lipped because of, it's like kind of like they're like, oh, egg on your face, It's like, so
Yeah.
interesting. It's a double standard, and that's what's been going on for so long, I think, and I think it's good.
Yeah, it's like I saw this meme that just resonates so well with me. So it was this Democrat, talking to, I guess, a Republican, or somebody that voted Republican this time, and it was just like, these audits are going to expose Republicans too. And the guy leans up closer into the air and says, "Good." Exactly. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking for. That's what I voted for. It's like, I want everybody that is guilty of fraud, expose them, get them out of office. That's the minimum.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of it's hostile. I don't think they're looking to like create, like they're not like after people necessarily.
Yeah.
Like they're not trying to be like vindictive. That's what I'm trying to look for. They're just trying to like say, hey, look, this is a problem. We need to fix it. Like it's been going on for way too long. It's like it's time.
Yeah.
It's gonna. I mean, we're $36 trillion in debt. Like, and a lot of it's got to do with internally with us, the way we're running our government, and
Mm-hmm.
the frivolous spending and the constant giving away money in different directions. And it can only go for so long. It gets your well dries out eventually, and that's, I think, where we're reaching. And it's, so I don't know.
And that's exactly where we're heading. Is that we've been heading towards a hyperinflationary point, and I still see a hard crash coming. I just don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some people that said that there's going to be the everything bubble and it's going to pop. Because before you've had particular markets crash.
Right.
In the early 2000s, it was the dot bomb or the initial tech bubble that crashed. In 2008, it was the housing crisis. So you have these very localized bubbles where liquidity rushes into, and then they just go away. And then the everything bubble is literally it's the government itself actually collapses, causing the entire market to go with it.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been building up towards.
Right. And that's what we're seeing it. Like the car market has taken a little bit of a hit.
Mm-hmm.
The housing market kind of went up for a bit. Now it's taking a hit again. It's it's a little of everything. Inflation's up again. We just had that about a week ago reported that inflation went up again, showing highs. I mean, there's all this talk about eggs and going up and stuff like that. It's like you said, everything that matters is hurting.
Well, the eggs are hard because there was a mass slaughter of chickens because of the scare bird flu.
The bird flu, yeah.
And there goes supply.
Right.
So now you have inflation plus a reduction in supply causing extreme price change.
But also, I don't even think it's necessarily a supply. I think it's, I don't know. I feel like there's a little bit of like media to this because all the attention to what happened with with the birds being destroyed because of the bird flu, gets people's attention, right? And then everybody's like, oh, I got to go buy eggs because they're going to be scarce now because there's less birds to produce eggs. So it creates that sort of
it's
inflation, like need. Yeah, that's what.
It's both. As I said, you have the panic, which because you have the leading edge and then the trailing edge.
Yeah.
So the leading edge is people buy it out what's there, and then the trailing edge is the reduction of supply. So I think the leading edge has already happened, and now we're in the supply crunch because there's less egg-laying chickens.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and even if you wanted to go buy chickens, you can't even find those because everybody's buying them right now. So everybody's like, "Oh, I need chickens because I need eggs," and it goes back to. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a prepper. I wouldn't say I'm not a prepper, if that makes sense. I'm more of a, certain things I kind of think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I guess, like the true preppers, now they're kind of looking at us like, hey, look at you guys. You have no chickens and no eggs. You're spending $5 a dozen, it's, but, yeah, I know I don't know. Interesting times for sure. But, one of the things you talked about earlier, we were kind of discussing before we got on here was, we were talking about Elon with all this Doge stuff happening. Apparently you brought this up. You were saying that there's a potential refund. Well, Elon is going to talk to the president to find out if it's if they meet the $2 trillion savings goal, that maybe us as citizens will get a refund from that. Which is, if you think about that, that's when it comes to crypto, right? They're always talking about how like the narrative and like what happens at the right times and things like that. If that were to happen, that's
it's a stimulus, and the last time we got a stimulus, the market's been crazy because people just bought in.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And the current conversation, TBD. I don't know what's going to happen to the rest of it because it still leaves 60%. But from what I understand, if he makes the 20%, if he makes the 2 trillion, it's 20% allotted to refund the American taxpayers, 20% for the debt. I don't know what happens to the other 60%. So that's the idea being floated currently.
Yeah.
And it would give it would give a lot of people relief for the pain that they're feeling. And for the naysayers about this is non-inflationary. This is our money, one. And two, the last time we got stimulus, it was the U.S. Mint and the Federal Reserve printing money out of nothing to give us. This is money that's already in circulation.
Right.
It's just no longer being spent by the government. It's just being returned to the people that paid it into the government. So technically, there's no inflation. On the other side
not
of that,
increasing our debt, basically.
correct.
Yes.
But on the other side of that, could it have an effect on prices? Like we're saying, could it be bullish for the crypto market?
Yeah.
Yes, it could actually cause spike in prices, but spike in prices is not always caused by inflation.
Right. You mean stimulus?
No, I'm using inflation.
What do you mean spike in prices? I wasn't following.
In other words, the spike in, say, like crypto, that price is going up.
Yeah.
People have a little extra money to spend. They're going to choose how they're going to spend it.
Right.
The monetary supply didn't increase. So it's the value of the dollar is not technically going down.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
Saying it's kind of more technical.
Yeah. People will have money to spend. They'll have some extra money that they didn't expect and potentially throw it in the market as an investment to try to increase their.
I would say it's like take care of credit card debt first.
Yeah. Well,
take care of.
It's people are going to do what they want to do.
They're going to do what they're going to want to do
because they're like, oh, if I can put 5,000 in crypto because crypto has been doing okay lately, let's buy into that, and then maybe that makes $10,000. But it's I'm not just saying crypto. I'm also just the market in general, and I think we saw that during COVID with the stimulus checks that we received during that time.
Well, I mean, and that was significantly different because interest rates were near zero because taking out loans was nearly free. The stimulus, there was a lot of market forces.
There was it was a perfect storm of things.
But and it was a massive debasement to the value of the dollar. So that's why I'm saying is like this stimulus is different from that stimulus.
100%. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I agree. I think it's people I think what you're saying is people may spend the money differently, essentially, than they did during COVID and when they were sitting at home doing nothing and playing the market. I mean, during COVID, we saw a lot of at-home market guys learning to play the market during that time. It was a perfect time to buy in.
I'm still expecting, the market to spike. I'm still expecting to see
prices.
I'm still expecting to see prices spike in certain areas or certain things to sell out because now people have money and people will make, not trying to be disparaging, but it's like when you have extra money, you want to make a stupid decision. It's like, I'm guilty of it. Almost everybody is. Right. And so it's not that I'm trying to be mean. It's just like there are going to be a large portion of people that are going to try to are going to think they're being wise, but they're going to make stupid decisions with the money because it's money they weren't really truly expecting. And that's going to cause basically a transfer of that wealth. But the ultimate end of the point that I'm making about it is that it's non-inflationary because it's money that's already in circulation. Yeah, it's not newly printed.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, like you said, they're not printing money to make it to increase our debt, to give to people, not like during COVID. It's like we're in a $36 trillion debt. Is this all the? I mean, I think during COVID, I can't remember how much. I wonder how much was the debt increase during COVID. Because I think that was pretty significant, if I remember right. It was I'm trying to find. I'm not seeing it. Thought maybe it would pop right up. Did the debt increase during COVID? Also, we have I think we're sitting at a national like a national credit card debt about $2 trillion right now, highest it's ever been, which is pretty crazy.
Then that's why I'm saying is just like relieve pressure in your personal lives first.
Yeah. But, no, that's a smart thing to do. 100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like, but I'm not a financial advisor.
Right.
Do what you want.
I'm just hopeful that the market gets kicked because we're in it, so we want it.
Yeah. Most definitely. It's like I am as self-serving as the next guy. But.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't tell me. I know it had increased several billions. It was 756 billion. 983. Okay, here it is. I think this is actually it right here. This is.
Well, usually the St. Louis Fed actually shows you with the M2 money supply. They should be able to roll back to that time period. Yeah, 2019.
Man, crazy.
Went from $15.4 billion. No, $15,400 billion. So I guess all the way the spike was, and that was at January 2020, and then it spiked up to 21,000 billion.
Yeah, I was. So it looks like during when Trump was, because he was still in office. You remember when COVID hit?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was literally like that's the main like
it went nearly
the whole
vertical.
beginning. Yeah, it was 3.6 trillion he approved for CARES Act.
Yeah,
and
and
the COVID lift, and then Biden approved another 2.1 trillion.
Yep. And then it went down a little bit, and then you can actually see it spiking back up. It went down as low as 20,000 billion, and right now it's sitting at 21,500 billion. That is a big ass number.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So all I did was I Google search for M2 money supply, and the M2 money supply is the most accurate graph that the Federal Reserve produces. It might at least publicly.
Right.
And this is the stlouisfed.org.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens. It's kind of like one of them things that, TBD, like I said. It's like it could I think it could help a little bit in general, just everything, maybe a little like you said, a stimulus is basically what it is. So it stimulates the economy is the idea. People have extra money, they're going to spend it one way or another.
Yep.
But
I have zero qualms about it. It's like, and there's been a lot of sentiment. Is like the number of people that I've seen on my tiny little feed, in X, of people demanding straight up refunds or straight up just give us a like a year or 2 years of tax holiday.
Yeah.
Because of just the little amount of fraud that was found. People are pissed.
I know. It's well, I mean, I think did we talk about last time the potential of taxes going away?
Yeah, we talked about the ERS and
that could be interesting too, right?
Yeah.
It's like it all depends on tariffs and stuff like that, obviously, and how much they can bring our operating costs down as a government and things like that. So
it's like if you wanted, I had a idea about taxes, for a while. I've just never really articulated it with anybody, but I definitely agree with the founders, because the reason why there's a direct tax, I forgot which amendment it was, but there's, the amendment that gave us the Federal Reserve and the direct tax. Otherwise, the core constitution was unconstitutional up until that point. Let's go back to that. So if we wanted to think about the government providing services, so, what they're responsible for is diplomacy. That's something that states don't want to do. That's something individuals don't want to do. You take a look at the U.S. Constitution. We're very unique around the world. Most places, the governments are instituted and then levy or grant privileges or rights to the people. The way the United States was founded was the exact opposite of that. We're, straight up federalism. We're supposed to be, I'm not trying, there's a group, so I'm not trying to, as soon as I say the word, you know exactly what I'm going to get into. But we're supposed to be sovereigns unto ourselves. In other words, each person is, each man is their own king. If they're married, they have their own queen, effectively. That's what, the resolution of the U.S. Revolutionary War was.
Right.
And so, but, as individuals, we don't want to deal with nation states. As individuals, we don't want to, do treaties. As individuals, we don't want to, there's a lot of things we don't want to do.
Right.
So we divvy these things up to local government, then we divvy it up to state government, and then that's why we have a federal government or federalism. So we retain our rights, we retain our freedom through being sovereigns. And that's why I am a constitutionalist and agree with this. And you have to understand, it's like the Bill of Rights is not a Bill of Rights. It doesn't grant us rights. It's a Bill of Restrictions, because it says these are things. Again, I keep reiterating this. I'm going to keep doing it. I know you're going to get annoyed with me.
No. I get it. I think it's funny, honestly. It's like but also like it's not, yeah. It's funny to switch it from it's a Bill of Rights to a Bill of Restrictions, because it's literally
because it says
things in this world are that way.
Because these are the things that the federal government can't touch.
Right.
Period. Under any circumstance. And so basically get rid of the direct tax of the federal government. So the federal government, does the diplomacy. They make sure that our shores are safe. In other words, there's a Coast Guard, there's a Navy, right? So that people can't invade, basically our ports of entry. They're supposed to make sure the borders are secure. Let's go to the Second Amendment for a small snippet, the well-regulated militia. You can't do that without training bases. So basically you have the Department of Defense, I think, is justified under the Constitution. And the academies for training officers, remains underneath the federal government. But that minimizes what the federal government actually has, because even the founding fathers were afraid of the federal government having a standing army. Everything else, National Guards, Reserve. That's it. The federal government then taxes the states for services rendered. Mm-hmm. Then it's up to the states to figure out how did they collect from the citizenry.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think that'd be the most fair way of doing it.
No, I agree. I mean, Maryland's going to struggle, but because they're already taxing the crap out of us here, and they're talking about raising taxes even more right now. I don't know if you heard about that or not, but Moore's talking.
The reason why, it's like you have the two areas. You have Northern Virginia, D.C., and Maryland. Mm-hmm. A bulk of federal contractors and federal employees are in this area. When you have a system that is maintained by money printing, the first spent dollars happen within this area or within this envelope. Yeah. So the people that live in that envelope are the ones that get to spend the money when it still has, 90+ percent of its value.
Yeah.
Right? Because they get to be the first spenders or the second spenders. By the time it gets to the third, fourth, fifth, it's already lost significant portions of the value and doesn't go as far. So hence, that's the reason why, Maryland's highly taxed. I mean, Maryland's going to have to rethink a lot of its own structure, as, the government shrinks, because the actual, it's like, imagine this, it's just like on, what is his full name? Patel, the guy that's up for FBI director. Kesh Patel.
I don't. Kesh Patel.
Yeah. I almost lost it. But he said that he wanted to turn the federal building, the FBI building, the J. Edgar Hoover building, there we go, into basically a deep state museum and send all those agents across the country. So that's a huge swath of government money, because they'll still get a government check, but they're not spending it in Northern Virginia where the building is. They're now spending it wherever they are actually trying to solve a crime like they're supposed to be. So it's going to reduce the economies of these areas significantly as, we thin down the workforces.
But maybe we'll see. I don't know. It's very, like, right now, a lot of the stuff that we're involved in are kind of not really being touched, is what we're seeing. But also, like, apparently there's some potential. We'll see. But,
I wasn't even going to touch on that, but
yeah.
The thing is that it doesn't even have to get into our area. It just, the reduction of USAID, the reduction of force in the IRS, which is already happening, the reduction of force in the area for the FBI. It's like as you do the reduction of forces and people actually start leaving government and they stop getting these government handouts, and they're going to have to find a job in the normal workforce. The area in Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland, the majority of the commercial space is built around services to feed, to take care of people that get a government check.
Right.
So there's only so much it can bear in empty, space for jobs, for those vacancies, because there's going to be less money going from the government into those economies. So those people are going to have to eventually move, and you're going to see how artificially built this area is.
Yeah. Well, so this is my thought. My thought is they're obviously the big part of this is they're trying to balance a budget. That's how I look at it. So they're trying to they're trying to actually put money where it should be and take money where we don't really need to be spending so much and kind of balance things out, essentially. So I feel like we may lose some jobs in some area over here, but then in other areas, there'll be more jobs created because they'll expand the budget. And because it's like, we need to spend more money here because these are the areas that make sense. So I feel like it's just going to be a shuffle of people, essentially. People are going to, but you don't feel the same way, huh? Okay.
And again, I'm not trying to be mean.
No, I like it when we have conflicting opinions on stuff.
If you were a useless if you're a useless bureaucrat in one position, you're not going to find a job in a new position.
Well, no,
I mean, it's just like, yes. I mean, could there potentially be? It's like there's area research for FBI, for AI. We need to bring AI engineers. Yes, but that's bringing in new talent. So, but still, you're losing. But there's a lot of positions that are just going to go away. Now, could this actually bring up new opportunities for new businesses? Could this raise opportunities for the commercial space to expand their businesses? Yes, but that's actually going to happen across the entire country and not necessarily here. Especially as because Trump's already proven that he's going to hold to his promises and he's going to try to push down the regulatory state. So by trimming a lot of these regulations, he's going to make it easier to create jobs. He's going to make it easier for corporations to actually expand their businesses. Right. So that means there's going to be job creation. But as I said, you're going to find out that this tiny little area, this little envelope is overbuilt. That's the statement that I am making. Because a lot of these people are just going to end up having to migrate, not because they want to, but because they're going to have to find work, and they might not necessarily be able to find it here.
Right. Well, I think that was part of the whole thing with potentially like people. There was the whole, I forget what it was called. Basically, the government employees could decide to get out sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So. And a lot because he was telling everybody's coming back to the office, like no more remote work, no more work from home. So I think that was a little bit of that was kind of like weeding those out, like kind of getting rid of some people essentially that say, well, I don't want, I moved out of state to another state. I'm not planning to move back. I'll just find another job there where they're at, mm-hmm. because they're doing remote work. So I mean, I'm sure there'll still be some residual, I guess you could say, from it. Yeah.
Anything's possible. I was like, all I'm doing is pontificating.
Yeah, I got you.
It's like I do have it on my hard and fast opinions until proven right or wrong.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just time will tell. That's kind of what I think.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not. I mean, I think that's the thing. He's willing to do the hard stuff. Or in the past, we haven't had that. And it's hard stuff that's got to be done. Otherwise, something major is going to break. And we're going to have a major problem. And I think potentially we may not have that major problem now. Or maybe it's not as big. I don't know. It's
I
I can't tell the future. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. If that was the case,
we'd already be millionaires.
Exactly. But it's like just the way the general feeling of the way things were going, it just felt like something. It was heading towards a really bad place, and I just felt like, as an economy, as a country, everything. And I think now some of the things that are happening, it's almost like not. I don't want to sound, that sounds ridiculous. I was gonna say being saved, but it's not that we're being saved. It's just that it's like, this is the big correction essentially. Now there's gonna be ripple effect from this, 100%. Like we're already seeing a little bit of it. It's not, but also like it's the hard thing that needs to be done, and that's what I think is happening. And that's where, of course, people aren't gonna be happy. Literally this morning I was listening to the news, and there's something I've always said. It's like, do you want a president that you like, or a president that makes things happen? And I've said that all the time. I'd rather have a president that makes things happen. I don't care. I don't want to like the guy. Like, he's no, seriously, like we're not friends. I don't care. Like, I want him to do what's right for the country, what's right for us. And I literally heard that on the news when I was like, holy crap, finally somebody is saying it. Like, do you want this? Like, do you really want somebody you like? Because that's what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people are saying, we love what he's doing, we just don't like what he says. So what? It's like, and that's sorry.
No, I've said that thing, several times myself. Like, is he getting the job done? Yes. Okay. Do I care if he says a mean tweet? No. Why? Because he's getting the job done.
Exactly. It's like, and I've said this before. It's like, even, I mean, you figure what, Bush was like, how many years ago? That was 8. I know it's a lot of math. It's like 15, 20 years ago.
Something like that. Yeah.
We didn't have the technology we have now, and how everybody's so connected with all the social media and the news outlets and stuff like that. I think around that time is when things were kind of changing. But I guarantee, if you knew who like George Washington was, Abraham Lincoln was as a person, those guys you would not have liked. But we didn't know that, because it's like the only people that knew that were in the circle, and they, but there was respect because of leadership and stuff like that. I just think that's the problem, is now we have so much connection. Everybody can just say what they want, tweet what they want on social media, that we hear so much more than what we used to, and so much more emphasis on whether we like a person or not is in place. And I think that's, if we can just get away from that and say, you know what, he's doing the job that we put him in there to do, let him do it. Who cares what he says? Let's just, stop.
Well, the amount of people coming up saying that this is like, all right, now you people, you've done it. You've woken up Gen X. This is what you get.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of those videos, and
that's great, honestly, because I think really that's where it's at. It's I don't know. There's a very different general feeling overall in this country right now.
There is. I agree with you on a lot of your points, and this is kind of like a wait and see for me. Because as I've described the economy in previous videos, it's just like it's a runaway train. They would say, put on the tracks. There's a lot of blame that could go around. We could, say which president started the train. I go as far back as Bush, because that's when I started paying attention.
Right.
So some people probably would say that was Bush, senior, blah, blah, blah. But either way, we were on a runaway train heading towards going off a cliff. And it was accelerated by Obama. Somehow magically, even though that we went over the cliff, Trump during his first term found us a parachute, and we were going for a soft landing. Still a crash, but it was going to be a soft landing. And then in comes Biden, and he cuts the cords of the parachute.
Yeah.
Not only that, he puts a rocket booster on just to drive us to the ground faster. But we're no longer driving to the ground fast, but we don't have this parachute, I don't think, in my personal opinion. We are going to the ground, and we're going to ground pretty fast. Now, the work that Elon's done with Doge is actually giving me a little bit of hope. I just don't know how to fit that into my current allegory.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if there's, like a safety net. I don't know what's going to happen. I still feel like it's going to be a hard crash. I just don't know what it's going to look like.
Right.
Is it going to be the predicted everything bubble? Is it, what's, going to end up happening? What are the downstream effects? And that's why these third rails exist, is that they're designed in a way, one, they pique your emotions. Oh my God, they're going after Social Security. That's people's retirement. People depend on that. That's an emotional response versus the logic of there was people over 150 years old and still getting paid on the rolls. There was money going overseas for Social Security for people that were never citizens.
Yeah.
This is like, it's bleeding money that we're feeding into it. That bleeding needs to stop. Even before we talk about the actual third rail of this Ponzi scheme, and it's a Ponzi scheme, is unsustainable. How do we make it, one, sustainable, or how do we ethically move away from it? It is a broader conversation that needs to be had. That's the thing, is like I just don't the how fast they're actually just going through a lot of these and these things that just popping up. Be like, we found this thing, and this thing. I'm like, almost every day is like, I am so glad I voted this way.
Well, yeah, that's a great point, because the fact is that they're finding this much and they're that quickly is amazing. It's almost like it's like it was a normal operation to operate this way. Like this is how it is, and it's like it's just it's mind boggling, honestly, because they're not really they're very surface level digging. It's not, obviously it's super surface level. I mean, I'm sure there'll be things down the road they probably notate to say, this is, we can't really rectify this right now, but it's like, let's look at this down the road. But the fact that they're finding this much this fast, I mean, we're in February.
Well,
we're February 8th, 19th right now. And they've literally gone through a whole entire agency and are moving on to the next ones. And they're found how much
a lot.
It's like,
and I would actually highly recommend, for anybody that hasn't listened to them, is find the video of Thomas Sowell, I used to be a Marxist. And there was an interview we did, and the interviewer was like, so you used to be a Marxist, and so what happened? And I'm paraphrasing, so hopefully I'm not getting it overly wrong. The guy is brilliant. He's an economist. Yeah. And he said that he went to work for the government. And I forgot which department he was working for, but he started going through things and was coming up with ways of actually making government more efficient. He was a young guy out of college. I said, again, brilliant. And when he presented his ideas to his leadership, they was like, well, we don't do that here. This is the way we do things. And he would have saved the government time. He would have saved them money, all the things, but they didn't want to hear it, regardless of how good his plan was. So, yeah, I mean, it's been happening for years. The guy is effectively, in my opinion, a national treasure. And if you haven't heard, talking to the broader audience, if you haven't listened to Thomas Sowell, you ought to listen to him.
Yeah, it's just we'll see. That's all we can keep doing. But so yeah, I'm finishing mine, right? Where are you at? Are you
I'm dry.
All right. So I guess we should end it here, huh?
It was a pretty good conversation.
Yeah, no, I think we always tend to kind of rail all over the place here. So it's, I mean, the crypto market has been a little low right now, a little bit slow. So things have been kind of boring in that sense. Ups and downs,
For people that have been in the market, it's like when you see red, you're like, hey, look, I see a discount.
Yes. I mean, if you're looking to get in, it's always good to buy during the red. We talked about that before, but
so in turbulent markets, it's kind of expected. A lot of people are saying it's like there's too many memes, too many people chasing basically the next hot thing. There's Bitcoin hasn't had the run that a lot of people were expecting, so a lot of the institutions are holding on. So there's not the cycle out that usually happens. So Bitcoin's holding on to its dominance. There's a lot of speculation of to what the whys are. I'm still in my strong opinion, and again, not financial advice. I'm looking at utility. I'm looking for the easy user experience. What's going to benefit me long term, and that's where I'm putting my money. What's going to allow me to self-bank.
So, okay, caveat that's where we're putting our majority of our money. Don't get us wrong. We play a little bit of the other little, memes. So,
yeah,
it's not that, but it's also being smart about it. You don't go into those things thinking you're going to make $1 million or whatever. You just go into them thinking, hey, it's like going to the casino, throwing some money at it, gambling, see what happens. It's kind of but like the real money we believe is going to be in the, and again, not financial advice, just what we believe in and what we're trying to do here. So, but so another off the crypto cuff.
Now, please not like, share, and comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe.
All right, until next time.